game, noon in Atlanta, and it will be a fascinating battle between Clemson and Georgia, and Sean McDonough will be on the call. And Sean, it's always great to see you, especially during the college football season. I hope all is well, and I know how excited you are to get going tomorrow.
Yeah, I really am, Paul. It's, as you said, a big game for our group to start the season. I think there's a tremendous number of storylines here, and we're really looking forward to getting started.
As you've gone through the week, and some of the coaching conversations may come later, but you've certainly been digging deep. What have you been able to determine? I think the storyline in some ways is self-evident, but I'm curious what it looks like through your eyes.
Well, we have talked to the Clemson folks already. We did a Zoom call with Dabo Sweeney and his coordinators and a few of their players on Wednesday. We have not yet seen Kirby Smart and his staff. We did talk to a couple of his players on a Zoom earlier this week, Carson Beck and Malachi Starks. And I think the big thing, the biggest topic of conversation around this game coming into it is where is Clemson now? Obviously, 6 out of 7 years in the Final Four in the college football playoff, 2 national championships, but not in it in the last 3 years. 9 wins last year, which a lot of schools would sign up for, but that ended, as you know, Paul, they're 12 years in a row of 10 wins or more. So, Dabo's starting to get questioned about a lot of things, and I think if they could win tomorrow, it would certainly help change the narrative around their program right now, at least for a week. And then Georgia, did just reload, and here they come again. A team that was number one almost all last year didn't make the playoff. I think most people expect that they will now with the expanded playoffs. So I'm looking forward to watching them play. They're loaded with talent. I think Carson Beck's the best quarterback in the country, and if I had to pick the front runner to win the Heisman Trophy right now, it would be him.
And let me stay on the Georgia side, because they were very quiet, number one, in the offseason. Probably a lot more conversation, Sean, about Ohio State because of their spending spree or whatever you legally call it now with NIL. But what beyond Carson Beck, which is a pretty important cog, what else are you learning about Georgia? Because they don't look like they're a complete full strength heading into tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, and that's still to be determined, particularly when it comes to ETN. Is he going to play? Is he going to be suspended? That's something that we're going to talk to Kirby about. I don't know if we'll get an answer when we meet with him in a couple of hours, but that'll be a factor. I do think, number one, in large part because they start with, to me, as I said, the best quarterback in the country. Maybe we're biased because the first time I saw him play Carson Beck last year was the game against Kentucky, when he had about as good a game as you could have, completed 80% of his passes, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns. And, Paul, the thing that stands out to me about him is, his completion percentage last year was right around 73%. And they're not, which is a school record by far, and they're not, as you know, dink and dunk. I mean, they're drop back and throw it deep down the field. They did lose a lot of talent, especially in Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. They weren't really that deep at wide receiver last year beyond McConkey, although I thought Rosemary Jack-Saint was a good college player. But 7 starters back on defense. They're always great on defense. I think they will be again. Excellent in the special teams, as well coached as a team can be. So I think they're worthy of number one to start the year.
Sean, I'm curious. You said something a minute ago, and you've done this for so long at the highest level, and every coach is different. Not trying to get you in trouble here, but when you sit down with Kirby Smart the day before the game, even though he may not tell the public what he is going to do until game time, does he share that with you and your crew, or is he as tight-lipped as he seems all week?
Yeah, he more often than not, he's tight-lipped. Every now and then I think he will tell us something that, and Paul, the difference between these two coaches in that regard is unbelievable. As I said, we were on a Zoom with Dabo on Wednesday, and we were probably on with him for close to an hour. And I would say that Greg McElroy, Molly McGrath, and I maybe asked 4 or 5 questions combined. I mean, as you know, when he gets started, he stays on a roll. And, Kirby is generally very short answers. A lot of times the body language and facial expressions would indicate that he'd really rather be someplace else. So I never go into it with him expecting that we're going to get a lot of information. But, sometimes you're pleasantly surprised. So I hope to be pleasantly surprised today.
Sean, I'm glad to hear that because I thought that was just me when he sits down
No,
here
no.
during this.